They said it wasn't personal, but silence always is. They kept chatting, sharing photos, memes, jokes, life. And yet, I wasn't in the thread. No pings, no notifications, no laughter with my name in it. They said I must have missed it. Said it wasn't intentional. Said it was just easier this way. But when you're not invited to the group, you stop being part of the family conversation. And slowly, you stop being part of the family. It started with quiet. Then came the distance. Then absence. Then the rewrite. They said I gave up. They rewrote my story before I had a chance to live it. They said I walked away, that I couldn't handle the pressure. But here's what they didn't say. It wasn't failure. It was something bigger, just not visible yet. There's a story behind the silence. And sometimes, the ones you love the most will silence you first. My name is Rachel Morgan. I'm 32 years old, and I live in Portland, Oregon. Let me take you back to the moment it all started. Not the day they kicked me out of the chat, but the day they stopped seeing me as someone who mattered. You see, in my family, you're either impressive or invisible. I was the eldest daughter, the responsible one, the organizer, the planner, the one who remembered birthdays, made spreadsheets for holidays, baked cookies with labels on top. I was that girl, the one who people depended on until she started depending on herself, until she decided to take a break from perfection, until she stepped off the pedestal. The last message I remember seeing in the family group chat was, "Rachel's not coming to the reunion this year?" Ugh, she's probably off doing that spiritual thing again. She changes careers like she changes hobbies. LOL. I didn't reply. I couldn't. Not because I didn't have the words, but because the thread had already moved on. No one asked why I left my job. No one asked why I cried on my bathroom floor every night. No one asked why I stopped answering calls. They just replaced me. Or maybe they archived me. Like an old photo they didn't want to delete, but didn't want to see either. The funny thing is, you don't notice the exile right away. It's not dramatic. It's subtle. A missed tag. A forgotten invite. A birthday text that says from all of us, even when none of them remembered on their own. You start shrinking. Not physically, but soul deep. And one day, you look at your phone and realize you're not even in the inside jokes anymore. There was a time I used to reply first. Always. Even if it meant stopping in the middle of work, or putting down a boiling pot, or losing sleep. Now, even if I wanted to reply, the messages weren't coming anymore. They had a new rhythm, a new core, and I was orbiting on the edge of it, quietly, invisibly. And yet, when they needed something, they remembered me. Eventually. But we'll get there. I remember one day scrolling through Instagram and seeing a post from my cousin's wedding. The caption read, "So blessed to be surrounded by everyone I love the most." There were 14 people in the photo, every branch of the family tree, even the family dog, except me. I wasn't invited, not even told. The wedding had happened 3 cities away, while I was home, rearranging furniture to feel like something in my life had changed for the better. I zoomed in, saw their smiles, saw the group chat had probably planned the whole thing together. And I realized something brutal. It wasn't that they forgot me. They had just stopped factoring me in. And still, I didn't leave the family. Because how do you leave what you're born into? You just learn how to survive the echo. You learn how to stop waiting for the ping. You learn how to be your own notification. But no matter how strong I pretended to be, there was always a part of me hoping. One message. Just one. Saying, "Hey, we noticed you're gone. You okay?" But it never came. Until the day it did. But not the way I expected. It wasn't an apology. Or a sudden flood of love. It was a problem. One they couldn't solve. And suddenly, the ghost in the group chat became their only answer. Funny how that works. They had a path laid out for me. Before I was old enough to form dreams of my own, they had already named mine. She's going to be the first doctor in the family. She has that sharp mind. So mature for her age. She's not like the others. Rachel always finishes what she starts. They weren't expectations. They were blueprints. And for a while I followed them. Not because I was forced, but because I thought love came with conditions. So I studied, worked late, skipped parties, volunteered at hospitals, shadowed surgeons, took MCAT prep courses over spring break. I wanted to make them proud. But more than that, I wanted to belong. In my family, belonging had rules. You had to achieve. You had to sparkle. You had to stand taller than everyone else so they could point to you and say, "That's ours. Look what we made." And I did. I climbed. I made the grades. I wore the white coat. I stood in the mirror, staring at the reflection of someone who was doing everything right. But inside, I was quietly crumbling. It started small. A forgotten assignment. A shaky hand. A knot in my stomach that wouldn't loosen. Then the chest pain. The night terrors. The overwhelming urge to disappear for just a little while. But there was no space for that in the plan. No detours allowed. No breaks written into the schedule. So I hit it. I smiled harder. Pushed more. Told everyone I was just a little tired. Until one day, I locked myself in the on-call room during rounds and cried until I physically couldn't breathe. I remember the moment I knew I had to walk away. It wasn't dramatic. It was painfully quiet. A 9-year-old boy had just died. He had a tumor the size of a lemon pressing against his brain. I stood outside his room, watching his mother collapse into a nurse's arms. And I felt nothing. No grief. No empathy. No sadness. Just numbness. That's when I knew. I had lost myself chasing a version of success that didn't belong to me. I didn't tell my family at first. I just stopped going. Stopped showing up for clinicals. Stopped checking emails. For a few weeks, I laid on the floor of my apartment, staring at the ceiling, trying to feel anything at all. Eventually, I broke the news. "I'm taking a leave of absence," I told my mother over the phone. There was silence. Then the sound of her swallowing. Then, for how long? I didn't know how to explain it. That it wasn't a break. It was a severing. I tried again. "I'm not sure I want to go back." More silence. Then the quietest, coldest sentence I've ever heard. "We don't talk about this kind of thing." And they didn't. Not one sibling called. Not one cousin texted. Not one uncle asked if I was okay. Instead, I became the invisible one. The one they labeled unstable, burned out, confused. The family's cautionary tale. I heard them. Not directly, of course, but through the grapevine. She had so much potential. She could have been something. Rachel's always been a little sensitive. It was like attending my own funeral, but without the flowers. The worst part wasn't their judgment. It was their pity, like when my aunt told my sister, "She just needs a good man to help her figure things out." Or when my cousin whispered behind my back at Thanksgiving, the last one I attended, "Maybe she's doing drugs." That would explain a lot. It didn't matter that I had never touched a pill. Didn't matter that I was in therapy. Didn't matter that I was slowly trying to rebuild. To them, my story had ended. And not with triumph, but with failure. Abandonment. Asterisk beside my name. I tried to talk to my brother once, just to feel close to someone. He was always the funny one. The one who used to text me memes at midnight. The one who stayed up with me the night before my med school interview. I messaged him, "Hey, do you ever feel like you're not who they think you are?" He replied 6 hours later with, "Are you okay?" I typed out a long reply, deleted it, tried again, deleted it again. I finally just sent, "Yeah, just tired." He heart-reacted the message. And that was it. For a while, I pretended to be okay with being erased. I posted less. Stopped attending family functions. Stopped reaching out. If they didn't want me, fine. I wouldn't force it. But deep down, I still hoped someone would fight for me. Someone would say, "She matters," even if she's not what we expected. No one did. So I left quietly. Started over. Without telling them. And the saddest part? They didn't even notice. I didn't plan on rebuilding. Honestly, I didn't even plan on surviving. Not in the dramatic sense. but in the quiet way people stop expecting joy. I was floating, breathing, eating, existing, but not living. Then one day, I passed by a tiny community center in East Portland. It had a faded mural on the side that read, "You belong here." Something about those 3 words made me stop. Not because I believed them, but because I wanted to. Inside, a volunteer named June was setting up chairs for a senior tech hour. She waved at me and asked, "You good with iPhones?" I wasn't. Not really. But I said yes. And just like that, I was roped into teaching a group of seniors how to send emojis and open Gmail. At first, it felt ridiculous. I had gone from studying human anatomy to helping an 82-year-old woman find her camera roll. I felt ashamed, like I had fallen so far from where I was supposed to be. But something happened on week 2. Her name was Carol. Gray curls, pink lipstick, thick glasses. She sat in the back and refused to touch the screen. She called her phone the demon box. She told me she hadn't spoken to her son in 7 years because he moved out of state and didn't believe in phone calls. "I don't do texting," she said flatly. "If he wants to talk, he should visit." I smiled gently and said, "But what if he wants to talk and doesn't know how to reach you?" She frowned, then muttered, "This machine hates me." I knelt beside her, guided her fingers to the Messages app, helped her type, "Hi, just thinking of you." She hovered over the send button. Her voice trembled. "You sure it'll go through?" "I'm sure." She pressed it. 2 minutes later, a ping. He replied, "Love you, Mom." Her hand flew to her mouth. Tears welled in her eyes. She looked at me and whispered, "You brought my baby into my living room." That's when it clicked. Maybe this wasn't medicine, but it was healing. I kept going back, week after week, helping grandpas unlock email accounts, teaching women how to video call grandkids, showing someone how to upload a photo of their late wife as a screensaver. It didn't pay. It didn't come with prestige. No one in my family would understand it, but it gave me something I hadn't felt in years. Purpose. There was this moment, a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was setting up a projector for a new presentation on internet safety. The sun filtered in through the windows. A group of ladies were laughing over coffee in the back. One of the grandpas was trying to Google himself and accidentally found an article about a different man with the same name who'd gone to jail. It was chaos. Gentle, joyful chaos. And I realized I hadn't thought about med school in days. For the first time in forever, I wasn't chasing anything. I was simply being. Eventually, the community center asked if I wanted to lead a weekly course. They called it Elderbridge. It wasn't fancy, just a few folding tables and borrowed iPads. But people came. Word spread. And the emails started arriving. My mom FaceTimed me for the first time thanks to your class. "Dad sent us a selfie today. Never thought I'd see the day. Thank you for giving my parents back their confidence." One man even drove 4 hours to see his mother in person after she sent him a voice note saying, "I miss hearing your laugh." I didn't put these stories online. I wasn't trying to go viral. This wasn't for clout. It was for me. To stitch something small and good into the world. To feel like my existence mattered to someone. Even if it was just Carol in the back row with her pink lipstick and demon box. I remember telling June one day, "It doesn't feel like much." She looked at me and said, "That's because you're comparing it to noise. This is substance." And she was right. I didn't need applause. I needed meaning. I still remember walking home one day in the rain. No umbrella. Shoes soaked. Phone dead. But I had a feeling in my chest I hadn't felt in years. Peace. It didn't make headlines. But it mattered. Growth didn't happen all at once. It was slow. Clumsy. Like learning how to walk again in a new life. But it was real. And it started to show. By month 6, Elderbridge had become more than a weekly class. It was now a digital literacy movement across 3 neighborhoods. We got a tiny grant from a local nonprofit, then a partnership with a small tech company. Then a retired librarian joined and started building printable step-by-step guides. What started as a folding table experiment became a full-fledged initiative. We onboard over 1,200 seniors per month, held workshops at libraries, retirement homes, and even churches, launched a simple interface app that simplified video calls. Within a year, we hit an 82% engagement rate. Elderbridge was featured in a community newspaper, then picked up by a small local radio station. Then someone made a short documentary about our work that aired during a regional tech conference. I was invited to speak on a panel titled, Tech for the Forgotten Generation. The audience clapped when I shared stories. Carol and her son, Mr. James, who learned to order his own groceries. A woman named Rita who said she felt brave, using her voice assistant to play gospel music while baking. People cried. People thanked me. Some asked how they could donate. A couple of tech CEOs emailed afterward asking if I wanted to scale. I said no, because this wasn't meant to be an empire, just a bridge. I started waking up before my alarm, started journaling again, started smiling in photos without trying. The weight I had carried for years, the shame, the failure, the fear, was still there, yes, but it didn't crush me anymore. I had become someone new, not the version my family imagined, but the version I was proud to live as. And yet, the silence from them remained. Nothing. No, proud of you. No, saw the article. No, how's that thing you're doing? I was still out of the group chat. Still the ghost at the dinner table. Still the one they warned their kids not to become. I remember the moment I told my mom about Elderbridge. We were at my cousin's baby shower. I hadn't been invited, but my sister had guilt-tripped them into letting me come. I sat across from Mom at the long buffet table. She was busy folding napkins into swans like she always did. Perfect. Precise. Controlled. I leaned in and said, I've been doing something. It's called Elderbridge. We teach seniors how to connect online. She didn't look up. Teaching old folks to click buttons? Real noble work. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Tried again. We've helped over 10,000 people in the past year. She nodded slightly. Not in approval, but as if she was filing it away under harmless hobbies. Then she said something I'll never forget. You always were the free spirit. Never could follow through. That's when I realized. She didn't see me. She saw the version of me she buried the day I left med school. My brother? He texted me once. Saw something about digital grannies. LOL. That you? I replied. It's called Elderbridge. He left it on read. The disconnect wasn't just emotional. It was existential. To them, I wasn't succeeding. Because my success didn't wear a white coat, didn't drive a luxury car, didn't live in a penthouse or post vacation photos from Italy. My life wasn't shiny. So it didn't count. They didn't ask about the people I helped. Didn't care that a man who hadn't seen his daughter's face in 3 years now video chatted her weekly. Didn't see the impact. Only the optics. There was one especially hard day. A national nonprofit reached out. They wanted to license Elderbridge system to use across 14 states. It was the biggest win of my life. I got the call at 4 p.m. Cried. Laughed. Stared at the ceiling whispering, it's happening. Then I opened my group family thread just to share a piece of it. Even though I wasn't really part of it anymore. I texted. Small update. Elderbridge is going national. 14 states. We did it. Nothing. No heart emoji. No wow. No congrats. The next message in the chat? A meme from my cousin about cats being afraid of cucumbers. That was it. That's when it hit me. I could move the world. And they still wouldn't blink. But something strange happened after that. The absence stopped hurting. Their silence became less like a wound, and more like a wall I no longer needed to climb. I didn't need their applause. Because I had proof. Proof in emails. In photos. In laughter across Zoom calls from nursing homes. In small handwritten notes that said, "Thank you for helping me feel human again." There was one note that especially stayed with me. It was from Mr. Wallace, an 89-year-old retired jazz musician. He had shaky hands and a raspy voice. He'd never used a computer in his life. After 3 sessions, he emailed me with lots of typos and said, "Thank you for giving me something to look forward to. I feel like a part of the world again." I printed that email, folded it, kept it in my wallet, because that was success. Not Instagrammable, not headline-worthy, but real. I had grown, not in the ways they tracked, but in the ways that mattered. And still, they didn't see it. But by now, I didn't need them to. It was a Saturday in early spring when it happened. A local community center had invited me to speak at their annual outreach gala. It was mostly city officials, donors, volunteers, nothing fancy. I didn't prepare much. Just brought a few slides and a story in my pocket. I told them about Carol, about the demon box, about the first emoji one of our seniors ever sent. It was a dancing taco. They laughed. They cried. They clapped. Afterward, people milled around a small table where I had printed flyers for Elderbridge. I was packing up when a woman walked up to me. Late 20s. Professional. Sharp blazer. Soft eyes. She looked nervous. "Hi, you're the one who started Elderbridge, right?" I smiled politely. "Yes. I'm Ava Morgan. I'm the founder." Her hand shook as she reached into her purse. She pulled out her phone, opened the Photos app, and held it toward me. "This is my grandma." A blurry screenshot of an older woman smiling on a video call filled the screen. She had a stroke last year. Couldn't travel. Couldn't visit. We thought we were losing her to isolation. She took a deep breath. But then she joined one of your digital classes at the Springhaven Center. She started video calling us again. She even learned how to play gospel music on YouTube while she cooked. Tears welled in her eyes. She said your team made her feel seen again, that she laughed for the first time in months. I felt the warmth rise to my cheeks. I was about to thank her when she added something that made me freeze. I told my fiancé all about it. He was so impressed. He said whoever created Elderbridge must be a genius with a huge heart. She paused. He said he wished his cousin had that kind of drive, that she used to be smart but dropped out and just kind of faded. My stomach turned. "Your fiancé," I said slowly. "What's his name?" "Evan. Evan Morgan." I blinked. "My brother." I stood there, stunned, like the air had been sucked out of the room. She didn't know. She had no idea who I was. And Evan had no idea that the woman he had dismissed was the same one helping his future in-laws reconnect with life. I cleared my throat and asked quietly, "You said Evan's cousin. What exactly did he say about her?" She hesitated. He just said she threw away her future, that she's always been kind of flaky, not really serious about anything. She winced. "Sorry. I didn't mean to." I held up a hand. "It's okay. You didn't say it." I looked at her, really looked. Her kindness, her sincerity. She wasn't the enemy. She was just a mirror. I took a breath and smiled. "I think Evan's cousin turned out okay." Her eyebrows pinched. "How would you know that?" I extended my hand again. "Ava Morgan." She blinked. The puzzle pieces clicked in her eyes, then widened in shock. "Wait, you're Ava? You're his cousin?" I nodded, still smiling, still calm. She covered her mouth. "Oh my God. I'm so sorry. He had no idea. He never connected dots." "He didn't need to." She stepped closer. "You're incredible. I mean, he had it all wrong. You've helped so many people." I shrugged lightly. Not because I demanded attention, but because the truth walked in by itself and refused to stay quiet. She hugged me, right there in the middle of the crowded room. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel invisible. I felt powerful. Not because I had proven anything, but because I hadn't needed to. The truth had found its own voice and spoken for me. The next day, my phone buzzed. A message from Evan. "Hey, can we talk?" I didn't reply right away, but I smiled, because for the first time, he wanted to listen. 2 days later, I saw his name pop up on my screen again. This time, he sent a screenshot. It was a selfie of his fiancée and her grandma on a video call. The caption said, "Thank you." She loves you and doesn't even know your family. Underneath a single line from him, "I'm sorry I didn't see you sooner." It wasn't revenge. It wasn't even validation. It was something deeper. A shift in the air. A crack in the wall. Proof that silence doesn't get the final word. That your work will speak, even when your voice shakes. Sometimes, life hides the people you need behind the ones who dismiss you. And sometimes, fate brings them back. Not for apology. After the gala, things didn't change overnight. No dramatic family reunion. No teary phone calls. No viral post with hearts flooding in. But something did shift. Quietly. Like the way the air smells before it rains. 2 weeks later, I received a letter. Yes, an actual letter. In a soft blue envelope, written in delicate cursive. It was from my mom. Inside, just a few lines. "I saw the video of your talk. Someone from church forwarded it to me. I didn't know. I'm proud of you. I hope you're well. Love, Mom." No grand gestures. No long explanations. Just enough. I read it 3 times. Not because I needed to believe it, but because I already did. I placed it in my drawer, not on display. I didn't tape it to my mirror or take a photo of it. I just kept it, because it wasn't about showing anyone. It was about knowing I no longer needed to. A few days after that, Evan called. He didn't talk much at first. Just awkward silence on the other end of the line. Then he said, "I thought you were lost. Turns out, I just didn't know where to look." I smiled. That's okay. I wasn't trying to be found. We talked for a while. About Grandma's favorite music. About how he's helping her write emails now. About his fiancée, who still couldn't believe the coincidence. He asked if I wanted to come to the wedding. I said yes. Not because I needed a seat at their table, but because I had already built my own. Little things started happening after that. My cousin tagged me in a post about tech education. My aunt called to ask if I'd help set up Zoom for her church group. Even my dad sent a thumbs-up emoji in the family chat after someone posted the Elder Bridge documentary. It wasn't applause. It wasn't confetti, but it was enough. I no longer looked at their silence as rejection. I saw it as space. Space I had used to grow, to become. And now that they were slowly filling that space with curiosity, it didn't feel like a rescue. It felt like a reunion on my terms. Somewhere along the line, I stopped trying to fix the version of me they had built in their heads. She wasn't real, and I didn't know her story to anyone. My story wasn't linear. It wasn't glamorous. It didn't come with degrees or applause or magazine covers. But it came with meaning, with grace, with purpose that whispered instead of shouted. And that was enough. One night, I was walking home from the center. It was quiet. Cool breeze brushing my cheeks. City lights blinking in the distance. I passed by a cafe and saw a woman helping her mother with a tablet. She was teaching her how to open photos. "Just tap here, Mama, see? That's your grandson." Her mother giggled. A sound like sunlight. I stood there for a moment, watching, not needing to step in, not needing to be known, just proud. Because the ripple was already out there. Because my name didn't need to be attached to every wave. Because legacy isn't always loud. I went home, poured a cup of tea, and opened my journal. Wrote only one sentence. It wasn't pride. It was peace. If you've ever felt like the background character in your own life, this story was for you. If you've ever sat quietly at a dinner table while others made plans and decisions, speaking about you like you weren't there, this story was for you. If you've ever checked your phone a little too often, just to see if they finally added you to the group chat, this story was for you. Because I've been there. I've been the forgotten one. The misunderstood one. The "what happened to her" story whispered behind closed doors. But here's the truth they don't tell you. Being left out isn't the end. Sometimes, it's just the pause before your real beginning. I used to think visibility was everything. That if no one saw me, I must not be doing anything worth seeing. But I learned something much more powerful. That the most important transformations often happen in the dark. Roots don't grow in sunlight. They dig deep in quiet, messy, unseen places. And so do we. So, If you're there now, in that quiet place, in that dark soil, wondering if anything will ever bloom, please know, it will. Not on their timeline, not with their approval, not in their language, but in yours. Sometimes, the people you long for the most won't recognize your worth until someone else does. And sometimes, you won't even care by then, because you'll have already recognized it yourself. That's the kind of peace I wish for you. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to perform to be loved. You don't need to explain your journey to be valid. What you're building in silence is power. What you're surviving quietly has meaning. What you're nurturing without applause will one day echo. So tell me, where are you watching from? Drop a comment. Share a little of your story. You don't need to write a novel, just a line, a whisper, a beginning. Because someone out there needs to hear that they're not alone, that they're not too late, that their story still matters. This space we've created here, it's not just about second chances. It's about real ones, human ones, imperfect ones. It's about finding your voice when no one's listening and using it anyway. Thank you for being here. Thank you for holding space for stories that don't fit neatly into boxes. Stories like mine. Maybe stories like yours. I'll be back soon. With more whispers turned to words. With more moments that prove you don't need a spotlight to shine. Until then, be kind to your voice. It's been waiting for you to listen.